Okay. So there we go. We have gotten Uniswap version 2 analytics for the Ethereum pair. And now Uniswap v3 analytics. Let's get rid of that. This bar is, of course, in my way because I have too much going on. Why is this coming up? Uniswap v2. Do I have to scroll down for v3?
I think if you click on Uniswap v2, just change it to v3. Maybe.
Oh, like actually take that to make it 3? Like I have found it. Ah, yeah, you're right. It's like I thought it was easier to find this the last time. Thank you, Haunted. All right, so rinse and repeat. So over here, we've got 1.27 billion. All right. So 1.27 billion.
Slightly more. Ever so slightly more.
Ever so slightly more. And what's the price on Uniswap? 32960. So very close. 2960. Again, rinse and repeat. This number divided by this number. Bam. Now, this one will equal this plus this. Boom. So there's the number of Ethereum that is currently in Uniswap version 2 and Uniswap version 3.
Yeah.
So now we've got a token count for at least those 2 dexes. So when replacing any of those assets, this is going to be times by... So this is where there's a debate whether it's 1.2 million or 1.4 million. Okay. Should we just auto format?
V3 is included as well. He might not do V3 at all.
Oh, no, he's going to do V3. The question, as far as I'm figuring, is how far to buy it, whether he's going to worry about fine-tuning it, or whether he's just going to go and buy it out a certain amount and let arbitrage and other get their advantage.
Okay.
But, because, like, Uni V3 is too big to ignore. But I've heard the difference between 1.2 to 1.4 million more abundant. So either way, we end up with 2 options. So it's either this number times this number, and this one is an absolute in this case. And boom. So again, let's make those number and make these fields bigger. All right. So this is the amount just for those 2 Uniswaps. This is the amount of tokens that'll end up paired in the Uniswap against that value.
Depending on the price, yeah. So 1.6 is the minimum at the moment.
Well, it's
1.1 trillion.
1.1 trillion. So we're going with the 1.4 more abundant.
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
go with a bigger number, so.
All right, so we'll go with the 1.1 trillion, and then in which case, the funny thing is, so that means that, so this right here and this equal this plus this, bam. So that is technically the value that'll be paired still, because this value will be unaffected technically. This is all the other altcoins and everything that's still in there, and it's going to be redeployed over time in PulseX, so it's still going to end up on the market. That's technically the cloned value, and this is the new pairing to replace ETH with the Pulse, which then means if we take the current number of money or value and we divide it by the amount of tokens, that is the official, what would be the official value or starting price if somebody were smart. They could still price it, start the liquidity pool anywhere they want. But that's technically what I consider the true value of the system at launch.
Yeah.
All right. So if we have these and we have these, then we know that K equals this one times this one. All right. So now we've got some fun facts here for liquidity pool size. Now, also, we can do the same thing for Ethereum. So this is where I do the teeter-totter stuff, which I think is kind of cool. So this right here is going to be Pulse. And this will be our ETH pool. So right now, that will equal that number. And this one will equal that number. Bam. This will equal this one. Oops, I want to have it first. This one times this one. All right, so now we can see the K prices up there. And, yeah, this one divided by that one. There. So now we've got prices, and we can see what's going on. Starting price, current price of ETH. Now, we know like how much is in here in value. So I can rewind the clock easy enough by, say, taking the square root. So if we want to see the price at $1, if the ratio is 1-to-1, that means it's the square root of K. So this will just equal SQ square root of this value. Bam. And then this will just equal that. That's where what the liquidity pools would be balanced at $1. And just to prove it, we take like the square root and times it by the square. We get the same K value. So this would be ETH at $1. And ETH started at 30 cents though, right?
Yes.
Okay. So cool trick with inverse numbers here. So, all right, if we take 30 cents was the starting price, right? 0.30. Okay. If we take 1 and we divide it by 3 or 0.3, this gets us our actual amount, like ratio this price has shifted. Now, if we go ahead and take square root function and apply it to this, all right, so this is actually the difference we need in the pool sizes. So if we made this value and this ETH, in order to bring it to the 0.3 cents, what we would then have to do is take this and divide it by this, bam, and then take this value here and times it by that value we just used to divide on the other side. And so this is the liquidity pool as it stands balanced when the price was 30 cents. So more fun math, fun voodoo with Excel. If we know these facts, then over here, let's make equals. This is the current value in ETH minus the starting value of ETH. Bam. Well, that math was almost pointless. That's the amount of value that went into ETH to up it all the way from 30 cents to its current price over 6 years. Now, you might be easier with these. What, for fun facts, what was the price of Ethereum at roughly 2 years in? Because we're just doing this as a 2-year model, roughly, right?
Yeah.
All right.
That's where the interesting part comes in, doesn't it?
Yeah, so if we can find the price, I can use my voodoo math to find out the actual potential, like, minimum necessary economic force. Like, there. This is what we needed to shift to this price. This is all rough numbers, though, because the liquidity pool could have been smaller or bigger at certain points, but the money has to be added either through buying and selling or through making it larger. So, I mean, one way or another, the economic pressure has to come in.
Roughly $470. That's just a rough.
Roughly 470 at 2 years. Yeah. All right.
So I could be wrong, but let's just go with that.
No, that's good. That's good. That gives me something. So now 470. So we know how we made this the square of G19.
Yeah.
All right. So this is going to flip-flop because I'm going to be lazy here. Bam. So we're going to, oops, I needed to repoint that to J14. Oops. J14. Take that. All right. So then let's add, like, make the numbers a little more visible. All right. So at this point, divided by G20. So this should be the token side of ETH because I've been lazy about the way I put this around, and this is the value side. Help if I spell it right. People get driven nuts by that. All right, so this is the value side here, just shy of $1 billion in this case.
Yeah.
All right. But again, so that's I wiped out that original value, but it was around what, 30 or 40 million in the pool.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, I kind of wiped that out. All right, well, I'm going to write this number down so we don't lose it, and I'll switch it back so we can find out. 294.
Have you got it back? Can you get it back and forward again?
So basically, this one, I just need to repoint it back to G19 and then flip-flop. So this side is the value now. See, that's where it's fun with Excel. It's like, how are you keeping track of that? Because my brain is scattered. So there, 24 million is the original value. So now we know 2 years of economic force was basically equal, roughly, really, really, really roughly. Don't criticize me, folks. This is moon math. Extremely roughly. Just shy. It was almost like PulseX sacrifice numbers. It's just shy of $1 billion. $955 million of economic force in 2 years to drive the price as high as it did. Now, up here we have price, value, liquidity, size. So since we already have technically a starting value, we're looking to add roughly $950 million of value to it. So again, fun with the numbers here. What we can do to the price, I am so nuts about the way I work here. So what we'll do here is we'll reproduce it again over here. But so what we'll do now this time, the K number will remain constant in this equation. So now what we're going to do is take this side here, and we're going to add the economic force here on this side. And then over here, we are going to say that this will equal K divided by the current economic value, which will leave the remaining amount of tokens within the DEX. And now, to find price, that will be the amount of tokens divided by the amount of value. Is that the way? Or value divided by tokens. That's what it is. Yeah, this is right. Value divided by tokens. Yeah. So theoretically, the price of Pulse could have gone and almost doubled in price over 2 years with that level of economic pressure.
Yeah, because we've already got fixed liquidity pools where Ethereum didn't. That's the difference. So we're going off existing liquidity pools. Ethereum did it. That's why it went from 30 cents to $400 or $470 in 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is where we have a little bit of fun starting to look at the haunted strategy. So this looks at the outside economic force doubling the price over the course of 2 years if we got $1 billion added to the liquidity pools. So now this is where it's interesting. Like, people don't understand because it's like, well, but that won't be the USD Pulse liquidity pair because that'll be much, much smaller. And it's true, like, as buys happen against that little liquidity pool, it'll spike. But then because you can get value throughout the system, people can use other assets to trade for the Pulse. Other assets become more valuable and suck the value through the system. So that's where, like, it's not as direct and it's kind of funny, but it still kind of requires the economic pressure to be there to force it up, right? Like, at least that's the way I see it, because like this is looking at the value of a mishmash of pools all paired in Ethereum, whether it be Doggy Coin or Hex or USDC, like they're all paired in ETH. So Ethereum, it's just the idea, or also in Pulse. So I mean, the value still needs to go through the system to get it to go up, is the way I see it.
Also, you got to think of when the people get their copy of PRC, because it's all unknown what's going to happen. People are going to get a copy of the PRC 20 tokens they have, and they're going to swap that into either Pulse or PulseX or Ethereum or Hex. So, you know, their Wrap Bitcoin, their Doge, their, whatever token there is, whatever token they're holding, even stablecoin, the first hour or so will have a value, the copied stablecoin, and they're going to swap that into something. So it's going to change everything then, but we're just running the numbers as if no one did anything.
Yeah, like this is where I almost hesitate to release this video, because everyone's gone, what do you think will do better, PulseX or Pulse? And I'm like, PulseX? Why? And I say nothing other than, well, Pulse is like liquidity pool's big, so think of it like a mountain growing out of the side. You won't be able to rug pool this, but it won't grow very quickly, and I've left it at that. And this is kind of the way I see it is, well, that's the economic value that has to go in to up the price of Pulse.
Yeah. That's where the haunted strategy comes in.
Well, all right. So, like, now we've looked at what $1 billion basically over the course of 2 years to double the price. Now, let's have a look back at the haunted side of the sheet here. So I was going to be all so super, like, conservative, but we literally just went to, oh, what's that? A 2x? Oh, no, it was just shy of a 2x. So the 195x. And we get over to total loan value. Your $3,000 or your $30,000 asset still has increased in size, but still you only have a total loans of $6,000 per person. Added value at a 2x.
Yeah, but keep in mind that a lot of people are going to be swapping those ERC20 tokens into Pulse. They're going to extract that Pulse out in the beginning. A lot of people, like the Doge, people aren't going to hold their Doge and Pulse pair, or they're not going to hold their Doge liquid. If they assume that that's going to go to zero, they're going to swap that into Pulse and extract that Pulse out of the liquidity pool. So in the beginning, that's why it's good to run these numbers once the first month runs by.
Oh yeah.
See what's left in the pools.
Yeah, because I always say, like, the first month will be madness, and you're right, because like I'm looking at Because you're right. Because like when I say it's going to take 1 billion of economic value, I'm not taking into consideration. Oh my, yeah, okay. So I mean, we look at the east side as having that much value of that many other tokens like Doggy Coin and everything. It doesn't take into account all of their market caps. Like we're giving everyone double the assets. So there is trillions and trillions of dollars worth of assets to trade against Pulse to help to help flow its value. It's just, oh my, like this is gonna be so mad for the first month. That's why everyone's like, what's the price? I'm like, I can tell you what the starting ratio should be for your hex. I don't know what somebody will pair the first USDC to it. I have no idea what they'll pair it. I can speculate.
Yeah, you don't know how many people are going to change their Doge into hex. You don't know how many people are going to swap their Bitcoin into hex.
Even though, like,
how many people are going to swap.
Well, even
so
though I say the value of Pulse is right here at 0.2 of a cent, but there's no reason somebody can't create a pair of Pulse at say 1 cent or even 10 cents as a starting price. Like what'll happen as it trades against the system, I can't wait to see. But yeah, there is lots of value out there for people to be scooping up Pulse out of the liquidity pools by selling against, like, trading off their assets.
There's one thing you got to look at it this way. If you think that every copy has no value, people think it has no value. In the liquidity pool, it has a value to a Pulse. So are people just going to sit there and not swap it into Pulse? Or are they going to swap it into Pulse? Get that value out and hold it for dear life. And that's going to change the ratios like no tomorrow. It's just going to be like, it's just going to be everything that was compared to the shit coins are going to go to zero and Pulse is just going to pump up. Because no one wants that Doge. I should say maybe people want that Doge. Maybe it'll become a meme coin. But no one wants that stable coin. No one wants that wrapped Bitcoin. No one wants Uniswap. Because it's just a meme coin that has no use case anymore. But it's got value.
Yeah, because it can get you Pulse. Yeah? Yeah, no, I see that.
If everyone swaps that into that, that's automatically, you can say 80% of that value is just going to go straight into PulseX or Hex. Where's it going to go? We don't know.
Yeah, and like it really comes down to a question like where the other faucets connect. So, like in the example I'm saying, somebody decides to create a liquidity pool and it values Pulse itself at 10 cents, let's say. Let's go. Let's say it harbors the true value. Let's go with the true value that I call like 0.2 of a cent. Okay, so let's say the liquidity pool says that, but now doggy coins like SHIB, they decide to like sell off all of their SHIB and buy a bunch of Pulse. But then say the creators of SHIB, like they start a liquidity pool and they don't realize the change in distribution and they make the two SHIBs in parity after all of the Pulse has been bought with the other SHIB, like out of the liquidity pool, if I'm making sense here. Like, so it's out of whack at one end and not at the other. Like, I'm not even sure how to express in math what that would do.
Yeah.
So that's where, like, it is going to be chaos for that first couple weeks, that first month. So chaos. But, so the haunted strategy, yeah, man, like, this is so weird to see because, like, there is so much value on this. So, all right, what was that? Roughly 6,000 a person, right? So now we're saying
002. How many X is that already? Check here. I'm just checking somewhere else.
Oh, 002. That would be a 20x from that'd be a 20x from the SAC price day one.
20x. Let's say. Okay, so I'm just working out. If someone had someone put down 20k. Someone had 20k aside. So now 20x for 20,000 would be wow. That's 4 million. So if someone sacrificed 2 million, 20,000, that would have 4 million at your price point.
20,000. they should have
Yeah.
400,000 at my price point.
400,000, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's
I
my
like to add zeros.
yeah, no, that's all right. That's all good. That's where like I'm a bit of a human calculator. So with the haunted strategy, the economic force added per person is about $6,000 at a 2x here. So this is where we have fun with numbers. So participation. If we get up to 1,000 people in the haunted strategy, that's $6 million of buy pressure by the 2x in correspondence to the 1 billion it was required to double the price. So that is still only like, wow, that's still not even 1% of the economic force. Like, you got to really step that up.
So you got to put 400,000 and 1,000 people.
So
and
sorry.
That will give you, if you want to go like that, if everyone has $20,000 aside.
Well, that's where like
that's $40 million.
Sorry, well, I mean, I was looking over here where you got the $1.95, like the 1.95x. The
Yeah, but you're starting this at a $30 investment, but their 30K investment now is 600,000. That's how much that's what it's changed to now.
By the 2x?
Yeah. No, it's not. No, by the price of 2 zeros and a 2. So you're looking at a different price now.
See, like I'm looking at
your prediction. Your prediction of the price starting at two zeros and a 2.
Oh yeah.
So if I put 20K down, my 2 zeros and a 2 would be 400K.
Oh, you started with a much higher price point, didn't you?
Yes.
Ah.
So yeah, I started much lower price point. So if you go back, change that to whatever that 20K would have turned into. Change the price to 20021.
Yeah, you're behind a zero. I see.
Yeah,
I see why the math works out.
30,000 would have added. You would have added that value. That 30,000 would be worth way more.
Okay, yeah. So that 6,000 is about 40,000 roughly. I see.
Pressure, yep.
So 1,000 people, 40 million. So now that's something. So now that's where, all right, this is where it gets alarming. So if you got 10,000 people, which would be outrageous, then you would have accounted for almost 1/3 of the market buy pressure, and that could be like inflationary popping.
10,000. That's a lot. Like if it was 10,000 people, if there was, just say that people were doing it, it would probably be maybe 3,000 people buying the top and 7,000 buying the dips.
But now
it's a smarter play to buy the dips.
If you want to see something even more cool, so we just add a plus here, and we click down on this cell. Bam. That is what you did to the price. You changed it from 407 to 417 by doing your haunted strategy, basically, over this economic doubling period. Whether it takes 2 years or happens a lot faster, that's up for debate. But that's where this is the force it takes to get there for that price, and this is what you're doing. So you will put a nice addition to the price where like that was about 2.5% extra to the price.
Yeah, that's with the 40 mil, correct?
Yeah, that's using the 40 mil. That's using my price points. So like this is where you can have fun and start shifting like the price around, and all this stuff still keeps balancing out. So we're looking at the economic pressure where if you can get about 1,000 people into the strategy, that will equal a 2.5% bump in the overall price and value in the market. That is
0.25 or 0.25?
Sorry, that
you went from 2 zeros and a 2 to 2 zeros and a 4.
There.
Correct?
There. Yeah. So that's the amount you have inflated the price roughly, realistically, with 1,000 participants. So you won't.
Nothing changing.
So
it
that
all stays
means
the same.
your strategy's not so scary because you won't moon the price, which means you won't create a housing bubble market.
Which is good. That's what we want. We don't want to manipulate the market, but we want people, as the price goes up, people are taking profits or making money, and moving on. So what was the price before the buy? Sorry,
before your purchase.
Yeah.
There.
2 zeros and a 4. Okay. How'd you get 2 zeros and a 4? Again, sorry.
Okay, so this price over here.
Yeah.
So what I did was this economic value of 2.4 billion. I added the economic pressure that it took that we got in 2 years to Ethereum. I added that to that here to come up with this total here. Then I used the K value and I divided the K value by this to get the number of tokens. And then it was a simple to get the price from the tokens and the value.
Okay, so what if you just went off the 2 zeros and a 2? What would happen there? Say that the price was fluctuating and it ended up, people dumped and we started on a dip and the dip was that price. Just for argument's sake.
Oh, like if you wanted to start earlier, like, all right, so if the price...
say there was a dip in the market and Liquid Loans launches on a dip and that was the price.
Okay. So how far of a dip do you want to go? Like all the way to the SAC price?
No, just the 2 zeros and a 2. 2 zeros and a 2. So keep it at that price. Because that's what the 40 million is giving you anyway. So you're buying 40 million at that price point. At that price point there, you're buying 40 million.
All right, well, I mean, like, okay, so your very first buy off your strategy, right, is not the value where you're looking at the 2x value, but it's the 10% value for your very first buy. So, like, or are you talking about, like, if the price went up to this and then we dipped down?
Yeah, say we dip down back to 2 zeros and a 2 and then Liquid Loan launches. That's what I'm saying. Because 2 zeros and a 2, that was a 40 million, which we just did. The 40 million buy pressure at 2 zeros 2 wasn't 2 zeros and a 4. 2 zeros and a 4 would have doubled that buy pressure.
No,
so
like
that 40 million would have been 80 million.
Sorry, I'm getting confused, Haunted. So, I mean, in order to double the price from 2 zeros and a 2 to 2 zeros and a 4 takes $1 billion of economic force.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I know what you're saying there. I'm just saying that if we started at a 202, I just wanted to see what would happen, what the difference will be.
All right, so let's take the
40 million. That's all.
Yeah, let's take the I-18 out. So that's directly to the starting price. There's the difference. So 00211, 00218. That's what 40 million does.
Up a couple of percent, yeah.
Yep.
So that's it. So obviously, that's more at that price point, 40,000. Okay, but that's so we still got to see. Obviously, when Pulse launches, we've got to look at the liquidity pools. We've got to look at what they're doing, what the price is doing. Like I want to start the strategy on a high. I will start the strategy on a dip. I've always said that to people. Look at the liquidity pools, see how much it is. It's really, we don't want a short squeeze where the price keeps going up and then someone dumps on our head. So this is good news.
Yeah, and that's where I like the idea of taking the loans like on the way up and not buying with them till you're on your way down, because technically you'll get even more buy pressure with them on the way down. So you'll end up with bigger bags than your strategy projects. So you'll have a little more pressure on the price. You might be able to double it by doing that 50% thing, waiting till it crashes half price. So then instead of 2.5%, you'll be up to a 5% effect to the price. See, now, isn't it cool to sit here and have some, I should put the 5 before the percent. Isn't it cool to sit here and play with a math nerd that's good with Excel? It's like now you have an idea what your strategy, if you need 1,000 people doing your strategy to create that kind of price effect.
If nothing happens.
Yeah, so
I doubt the liquidity pools are going to stay the same. People are going to swap their sheep, take out that pulse.
Even if you,
are going to swap everything.
Well, that's where, even if you didn't do the haunted strategy, like even if you didn't do the haunted strategy, like the fun thing is all the assets that are out there, like this doesn't have to be US dollar that comes in and does this to all the price. Like you pointed out, the altcoins and all the value can still lob in here. Like before you know it, and also like another fun thing for the price is Richard Hart decided for PulseX, because I forgot, this is pretty important information. I should have put it at the beginning of the video, right? But Richard Hart decided for PulseX, he's not launching it full as it can be. He's launching it and slowly ramping up the liquidity in it. So it's going to allow it to go up in price easier to start.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. Why? Or how?
Yeah. So when so what happens, right, is that he has to buy out the assets in Uniswap. So when we look at that number here that I multiplied by 1.2 million or 1.4 million, so the square root, that whole function thing I did again, like for the 1.2 million, it was 1,096. So if we take this number, so this will equal, here's our ETH value, and then times this. So between Uniswap version 2 and Uniswap version 3, from the buyout, what has to be put out there is, wait, that number can't be right. What did I just do? What did I multiply? Or can it be right? Am I using the right numbers?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not using the right numbers. I'm multiplying the Pulse number. Ha ha ha. I don't want J7. Where was it? What did I want? Oh yeah, F11. That's what I wanted. F11.
The Ethereum numbers.
Yes, the Ethereum numbers. So that means in Uniswap version 2 and 3, just shy of 1 billion Pulse have to be put into the Uniswaps to be paired, and the value itself in the Uniswaps, so that'll have to be divided by,
Wait, so 1 billion in Uniswaps, that's like almost $1.
Well, so in the Uniswaps, this will be the value, and this will be like, that's what you think at first, but the other side has to be divided. So now to figure out the price, again, it should equal the same thing. So what was it? Yeah, take the value and divide it by the number of coins. Oh, look at the price. So yeah, this is the Uniswap size. All right, so that means the value in the Uniswap size is only going to be $2.2 million between Uniswap 2 and 3, which means the economic buy pressure to put those up will not be a lot. And now Richard Hart is launching PulseX, which all the value he bought up of tokens on the one side that is now missing here because it's been divided to 2 million, all those other 2 billion missing, 2.4 billion missing value can be redeployed at the same ratio with Pulse on PulseX, which gives us these mega numbers up here if PulseX is deployed. this will be PulseX Uni 2 and 3. That's what those numbers would represent. So these numbers here just represent
I don't
Uni.
mean to be a question that I want to go back to the beginning. Did we get total lock value or total value to the each pools in the beginning?
Yeah, so this was, we looked at, so Uniswap version 2.
If it was total lock value, it means that we're also including the
Oh, I don't know if it was
Doge to sheep, just an example, Doge to sheep pairs as well.
Well, I don't know if it was total locked. Like when I click on Ethereum, I think it's every single. Yeah, so we're looking at total locked value then.
Yeah, so that could be. So we're including ones that aren't even paired with these as well. That's just not the ETH pools. That's SHEEB and USDC and stuff like that.
Well, yeah,
so a lot of,
it's anything paired with ETH, right? Yeah. It's just not.
No, the total locked value. Because the total locked value could be anything. Could be SHEEB and USDC.
Oh, see, no, like when I click on the ETH pair in Uniswap, it's just the pairs of ETH.
On the ETH pair, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah, no. I clicked on the ETH pair because someone taught me that I was not looking right, that I was not narrowed in enough. So yeah, we are looking at the total ETH pairs. So with the total ETH pairs, but that still means that this becomes above this word, the value side, and this becomes the token side in Uniswap version 2 and 3 on Pulse.
Wait a sec. So 2 million with my strategy on the first buy pressure is.
Oh yeah, 20K. If this was all the liquidity that was deployed, because this is what'll be left in Uniswap 2 and 3, they'll be so drained. Yeah. Then everything that's drained out of here will slowly start launching in PulseX, which means
because the very first buy pressure is 2 million, and if you're saying 2 million's on one side.
Yeah, you would effectively double the one side, which 4x is the price.
4x is the price, yeah.
Yeah, which you might want to be careful of, but that's where we don't know how small Richard Hart will start the liquidity. We know eventually he'll deploy it all, but we don't know if he'll do that over the course of a week, a month, or a year. And he will deploy it all and make PulseX bigger and meaner and bigger and meaner, probably after the Pulse price has gone up a bit.
You would prefer to grow.
You're gonna
anyway.
So yeah, this gives you an idea of what'll. Yeah, this gives you an idea of what'll be in Uniswap, but what you're really gonna have to pay attention to is what is deployed in PulseX, and that'll tell you what kind of pressure you're deploying. So, once you know what's in PulseX and you track what's in PulseX, you'll know what's safe to put in because you know you don't want to bump the price more than 10% at any time, right?
No, yeah. But
so
if it's only 2.2 million, that's scary.
Well, yeah, but that's where Uniswap 2 and 3 basically won't exist, and PulseX will be over 1,000 times bigger than they will be. So that 2 billion that's missing out of here is getting redeployed in PulseX. So think of it this way: this number minus what's left in Uniswap 2 and 3. This is what's getting deployed on the Pulse side. And we'll wipe out this price here, and we'll say these tokens here minus these tokens here. Well, so this is PulseX right above Uniswap 2 and 3. And so eventually when PulseX is at full force, you won't be able to move the liquidity much. But Richard Hart is not starting it at full force. So the question then becomes, riddle me this, does he start at 1%? Does he start at 10%? Where does he start? But by not launching it at full liquidity, he's going to allow more pressure to the price. But this is some math, so this lets everybody know what kind of math you're doing with your haunted strategy to make sure you're not going to moon the price and blow everything up like a housing market bubble or anything.
Yeah.
So
that's the main thing.
Yeah. So this, I hope this helps.
And if I look at it this way as well, one thing I like about the haunted strategy people who use the haunted strategy, they have no intentions of ever selling that. They're just waiting for price appreciation, so they get a loan and then maybe extract some of that loan to use and buy more pulse with the rest. So when the price is on a dip and people are learning to dip, they're buying someone who's just dumped, for example.
Yep.
And they're removing that. So therefore, they remove that pulse. They're buying at a discount.
Yep. And as long as you...
Then when the next time the price goes back up, that person, if he sold 10% of his bag or 100% of his bag is smaller. Whereas the people who are doing the haunted strategy, their bag is bigger.
Well, that's where it's the interesting thing. Like, I mean, I know it's their bag, but because there's the lean on it, it doesn't really feel like my bag anymore if I were to participate. But it is more like sacrifice. Like, there's my burn pile, which I'm never gonna pull out. But it is interesting to be able to do that, to have so many assets to generate pulse, like that I can do things like that, and that taking pulse out of the system, like, I mean, as long as you don't overinflate, don't use the strategy incorrectly, and don't cause more than a 90% market correction, it doesn't get liquidated. It is off the market. It's just that's where the devil's in the details. More than a 90% market correction, and bam, it kind of blows it up like a time bomb. But,
that's why.
And then
that's why I've always pushed the loading the dip is more important than always having that second bag to load the dip. To help push the price back up, having a strategy that way, that's more important than the top, and it's a lot safer too. So if you're running the dip at 50% mark, it's got to drop 90% from there for you to get liquidated. Well, keeping the system healthier.
Even like,
if you learn the dip,
even things to be cautious, like when deploying it to begin with for the very, very first couple loans, you could even start with something like 5%, instead of 10. Make sure there's an extra big safety net. And I think the hottest strategy.
Half of your loan is into pulse and half of it into the stability pool.
Yeah, so
you can do something like that.
All we have to do is look when PulseX launches, because we know this is roughly all it'll be in there is between $2 and $2.5 million in the Uniswap. So we just have to pay attention to PulseX. Arbitrage will sort out our value there, unfortunately. But we look into PulseX and we can calculate the liquidity. We can then look at the buy pressure that you want to simulate and see what it does to the price before you even apply it. So that way you can be careful each time you do a buy with your group.
Yeah.
So
you know that Uniswap will eventually get its liquidity back through arbitrage.
Well,
it will eventually shift back there.
Well,
it might be slow.
Yeah, they could do that. Like, they will want to come and play eventually. They will want to rebuild their liquidity pools, and they will, whether they, arbitrage might be too slow for them.
Just on arbitrage alone, the liquidity pools are there. There's money to be made. So they'll extract that value from PulseX and redeploy it in Uniswap just to get that ratio back. And then people might come and add liquidity there because of that volume, because the price is just fluctuating, because of the arbitrage. They're going to be making some fees there as well.
Well, see,
so you might see some of that.
That's the funny thing about arbitrage is, as the size of PulseX gets bigger, it'll be harder and harder for Uniswap to do any arbitrage. It's really cool math. As for tonight, it's getting late to my bedtime, so this is some good math that I'm sure will make people happy. Oh my god, the nerds went at it, and yes, the Haunted strategy is fine-tuned with extra ammunition, which means Haunted has now seen some Excel Wizardry and knows how to go to PulseX and pull liquidity pools and see what his buy pressure can do.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I can't wait till I see that, my friend.
Yeah, because you see how simple it is to go back and forth between K and the price and use some square roots. So, if you need me to run you through this a couple of times, I can, but you can build liquidity pools this simple and then add it, divide it against K, and figure out what you've done to the price. So you can easily monitor the Haunted strategy as you...
we can watch this over and over again.
You can rewatch this after I post it. That'll tell you how to build these again and again, and you'll be like, all right, now I just have to put in the current numbers, build it like Top Gun showed, and you can fine-tune the Haunted strategy and make sure that it goes off without a hitch. So I'm excited to release this video. The Haunted strategy fine-tuned.
One day we build a Excel sheet just for liquidity pools, just so someone can add... Just so people can understand how they work. A lot of people don't understand. It's not what... So the dollar value might be something, you've probably got it there.
That's what the what-if game is. It's a series of liquidity pools. all spaced out
just
across
because
time.
Hex is $1, for example, say Hex was $1,
Yeah,
and you've got 100,000 or $100 million worth of Hex.
yeah,
You got to know how much is your true value, is how much you can extract.
yeah.
So
And
you can
I've
sit there
run
and
that.
put it in an Excel sheet and say, bang, you can only have this much out.
Yeah, I've calculated the slippage more than once on something, going like, well, what happens if my PulseX equals this much and I go to try and take out against the liquidity pool at this date? What kind of slippage? And it's like, oh, wow. So if the price gets to $20 for PulseX, the amount that I own, if I tried to sell it all, I would lose 40% in slippage, and I would brutalize the price if I waited for it to get to $20 a coin. Like, wow. Knowing that is really some scary power.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and look, if you know what, if the haunted strategy works really well and a lot of people are doing it, it's adding up immense buy pressure. Like, out of 10,000 X, 50,000 people are doing it. The buy pressure, like, it will take a while to get there, but just the single buy pressure is $6 billion. I know it's unimaginable, it's very hard to understand, but
Yeah.
like, we only went off to a 400. We went off a small,
Well,
like a 2x. We're working all this off a 2x.
yeah, like that's
We're
where
not working this off when we see a 10x or a 100x or a 1000x. We're only working this off a 2x.
that's
All
where
this math that we're doing now.
you'll appreciate this a little bit more. So let me set this to PulseX again. All right, so this is the insane numbers, but that's where, all right, like, I mean, I come here and I've got the short form, but that's of the month 12 liquidity pool over here. So you can actually see, like, I had to actually calculate, well, this is the number of tokens left. That would be the number of amount. That's the assumed size of the liquidity pool. That would make the price $6. Like, I had to work it out step by step. So yeah, this video is probably it's 51 minutes, so I'm sure people are gonna nerd out to this. So yeah. I'm gonna let's wrap this up. So hey, I'll do my my warning at the end of the video, just when it's really pertinent. I'm not a financial advisor. This is for entertainment. I do moon math. I'm a college dropout, and I just found out there was a difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum on November 10th. All right.
Nice.
You got any warnings there, Haunted?
Don't listen to me. Just
don't listen to me.
Do what you think is right.
That's the warning from Haunted. Don't listen to me. All right.
Everyone. Don't listen to anyone. Just do what's good for yourself and do what's best, what you think is best.
You know what, Haunted?
Yeah, mate.
You're gonna be rich, boy.
You're gonna be rich, boy. Thanks, buddy. Enjoy. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Thanks for the show.
Yeah, thanks for playing the math. You have a great night.
Yeah, mate.
All right, stop the video.